Behind the Shades.
My name's Lynn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. I have a podcast show, as Terrain mentioned, which is called Hearts Entwined. And I do all things love, dating, relationships, sex education. And a little bit about me. My story is quite a harrowing one. I went through a couple of really serious assaults in my teens, and I'm a survivor of what you can probably guess those assaults might be. And I turned my life around, after going through quite traumatic events. I want people to know that you can turn your life around and you don't have to be a victim. You can be that survivor and thriver of whatever experience you've been through.
I know there's so many people that have struggled with the different types of assaults, and there's many, right? You have the physical, you have the emotional, you have the verbal, you have the spiritual, you have the sexual, you have all these different types. And although they may show up differently in our day-to-day life, they still impact us quite a bit. And I know there's many people out there who maybe haven't been able to reconcile it, and there's probably some people out there who they just bury it, right? I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it in the farthest part of my closet where that dirty shirt is that I hated because my grandmother got it for me and I was just being nice when I said I like it. I really really like it. So for you, Lynn, you shared what you went through and you touched on it, but what ultimately got you started in wanting to have these types of conversations with others?
I think for me, it was my own. I've got two daughters, and at the time, I think I was around 42. So this is going, way into the future, past the time. I mean, my first experience of, and this is serious sexual assault, the very worst, was 15, and then again 18 with two different guys, two different occasions. And I think for me, when I saw my oldest daughter was about 11, 12 at the time, going through puberty, I think that was a wake-up call for me that I needed to do something constructive in terms of my own healing that I hadn't embarked on, because I wanted to be able to tell my daughters as well as my husband at the time that this is what's happened to me in the past, and I hadn't up until that point told anybody.
What are some of the steps that you decided to ultimately take to one, address it and work on yourself, as well as you mentioned, to be in a better position for your own children?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, my experience wasn't great in the UK. I'm from the UK, but I live in Spain at the moment. So I called, what I would think is the main agency and authority that I thought would be able to help me, and that was in the UK Rape Crisis. And they did arrange to speak to me fairly quickly, and I did go and speak to a counsellor. And do you know what? At the end of the conversation, she said to me, "Well, I'm sorry, Lynn." She says, "For any future counselling, there's going to have there's an actual, I think she says 12 to 18 months waiting list." And I was like, "What?" It's took me like whatever it was, 25 years to get to this point where I've reached out, and you're telling me now that I've gained the courage to reach out, that I'm going to now have to wait another 12 to 18 months before I get any ongoing counseling. It was ridiculous, honestly.
That is a long time. And I wonder how many people have gone through something similar where they're looking for help and the time is so long. Like I look at it like, if Lynn, if you came to me and you said, Terrain, I need your strength, I need your guidance. I say, Lynn, of course I can help you in 8 months. Right? You'd be shocked, wouldn't you be?
I absolutely was. And do you know what? In those days, I mean, going back to about 2002 here, um, it was snail mail, so they sent you a letter in the post when they got the availability. And do you know what? At that time, because I'd already found the courage to speak to my now ex-husband about it, and my two daughters. I thought that was it. That was me. That I was fixed. and I actually didn't go for any further ongoing counselling. I just said give it to somebody else, that appointment, or that space. And yeah, probably not the wisest decision.
Especially when you look at your own children. You're very young when you went through it. You mentioned that you're 15, and so many children or young adults, 15, 16, 17, right? They go through so many adverse childhood experiences, and it leads to so many different types of adult issues such as anxiety, depression, um, and maybe to a degree like isolation, because if it's unresolved, you may look at groups of people that way, right? Or a man assaulted me, or all men this way, a woman treated me this way, or all women this way. And I think as you bring children into this world, it could be something along the lines, there wasn't someone there to protect me in the way that I wanted to be protected. So now I want to make sure that my children are or protected. You could be a little bit overbearing, overprotective. You can view the world in general now as a very toxic environment. Did you notice that some of what you're going through began to impact the way that you were as a parent towards your own children?
I think I was protective. I don't think I was overprotective. And fortunately, I've never known what it's like to be depressed, even, and this might sound like a contradiction, because even, after the second event, I felt suicidal. But even, going as far as, because I was a veterinary nurse at that time, going to the drug cabinet where I knew there would be a drug that would kill me instantly, because I lived in this, the premises, the vet skevers, the apartment, the nurses above the surgery. So I knew where to go and get this drug, and I knew how it worked and how quickly it would kill me. And I even got as far as doing that. But even though I felt suicidal, I wouldn't say I ever sunk into any depression. Now I know that's not the case for a lot of women that have been through that sort of trauma, but I've always been fortunately a quite a positive mindset. And in the end I just talked myself out of it and couldn't go through with it, because I was thinking about my younger brother at the time, and couldn't do it to him, basically. But yeah, it's interesting. I feel for me, so that wasn't an issue. I don't think they had problems seeing me in any sort of down state, but I know traumatically inside my body I was suppressing stuff, so that I always had weight issues, yo-yoing up and down the scales, for example. So it showed up in my body more, and I realized, after going down a more of a personal development route rather than a counseling or therapy route, that I've been living most of my adult life on high alert and not even realizing it. I was super, super hypersensitive to energy, and picking up on who I felt I could trust and who I couldn't, especially men.
As you look back, and you've grown obviously so much since, right? You have this podcast, you have this way of helping so many other people. When you look back and you're reflective, are you like, how proud are you to be making these changes, not only to your life but the lives of others?
Super proud, because you know what? I think a lot of us get stuck, and it's so easy to label ourselves, I am a victim and my perpetrator has made me a victim, and therefore I'm going to live as a victim for the rest of my life because this is what they did to me. Rather than, if you're in touch with somebody that's been through that experience and they've overcome it, they will actually teach the opposite of that, in that, you know what? My belief is that I'm a survivor thriver. My belief is that I've got the power. No perpetrator or perpetrators are going to take the power of me living a successful life away from me. I won't give them that power to do that to me. And why would you? And I trust, even though my perpetrators didn't go through the official legal system and the courts, that there's a higher power. I mean, I'm not a religious person, I never have been, but I do believe in a higher power. And, so I trust the universe, and I trust the karma that the universe will dish out, and that my perpetrators will experience justice at the hands of the universe dishing that out in whatever way they deem fit. So I can live in my power and not have to worry about that.